Char, and I am on my mission to do 30 videos in 30 days, and this is number 3. So today I wanted to share with you, when I was raising my kids, I had shared with them that our lives are like books, and you're in charge of that book. You're in charge of who makes it and who doesn't. You're in charge of how long people stay in the book, and also whose names are in the book in ink and who is in pencil, because every once in a while we get pretty lucky and we can erase some of those names out, but then there are some really important names that you're not able to remove. So if they're in your book in ink, make sure that you're in their book in ink, and always finding ways to empower them. When they hit teenage years, and a lot of this insight that I have that I shared with them was being able to reflect on my own and making sense of, as I was going through life at that same age, making sense the way that I would want to hear it. And one of the most important things, and I still use this every single day today, is when they would go through days where they were lost, it didn't make any sense, or it didn't plug into other things that they thought were going on in their life or in their book, I would say that it was a dot dropping day. And what I mean by that is, if you think back to when we were kids and you had the dot to dots, and you would flip through the book, and you remember when you would come across one and you knew what it was and you just flipped to the next one until you came across one that maybe looked a little bit like this, and you didn't really know what it was. It didn't make any sense. And so that's why you would choose to do this one. And somewhere along the way, if you'll notice, there's no numbers on any of these dots. The dots have to be made first. And so there are days that we're going to go through in our lives that you're just dropping a dot. You're just dropping a dot on something that you're going to come back to and connect it to later. And sometimes those dots get numbered. And when that happens, then clarity is a little bit better, and the dots start getting numbers on it. And you could figure out how one thing is going to connect to the next. But every once in a while, what I'd like to share is that sometimes you're not dropping a dot in your own book. Sometimes you're making a dot in someone else's book. And so if you allow yourself to get caught up in that moment because you're trying to spend so much of your energy and time figuring out how this plugs in to your bigger picture, or this needs to make sense to you before you move on, what you don't understand is it's never going to make sense because it was never in your book for it to make sense. And so if you just trust the process, that in the middle of some days, all you do is drop dots. You don't connect dots. You're not able to see how they plug into bigger things. And that if you're coming from a true place of source of positivity and love, that it will make sense. And that some days you hope. I mean, sometimes there are people out there who are so caught up in their book of connecting dots that they need you to come in and drop a few, or maybe even drop some numbers, so things will connect for them. And if you're so busy focusing on your own, you won't be able to make that difference and to help other people. And sometimes when you start connecting the dots, you can kind of see the picture that's going to come into place. And the beauty of this is that most of the time, you don't have to have all the dots connected before the picture comes into place. Most of the time, when you're doing a connect the dot, you'll be about halfway through, maybe 75% through. You guys know what this is a picture of. If you don't, they scare me. This is a spider. Anyway, so it's really your choice on if you want to come back and continue to connect these dots. You may not understand when it's like this, how the picture is going to come together because you're dropping the dots. But at some point, it's your choice on if you're going to choose to finish this or not, and what you give your energy to. And eventually, sometimes, you get to finish the picture. And just like when you were kids, you'd sign it at the bottom, maybe put a little date in there, do a little bragging so if somebody else came across that book, they'd be able to say that you got that figured out. I remember coloring it in too. It was all in the dentist office. But there are days that aren't going to make sense to you. There are days that don't make sense to everyone. And in those days, all you have to do is know that you're just dropping a dot today. It's not supposed to make sense. Sometimes some of these pages that you're dropping dots on are pages that you started years ago. Years and years and years and years and years ago. And then there's some you'll finish within a day and it will make sense. But a lot of them, especially those bigger life ones, are dot to dots that you started years and years and years ago. And there's even times where you think that the puzzle's done and life's going to bring you back to that page and you're going to start dropping more dots. And it's going to change how the picture comes together. It's going to change the picture completely. So remember, trust the process as you're going through it and that it's all going to make sense if it's supposed to. When it doesn't make sense, you might be dropping a dot in somebody else's book and helping them more than you can even imagine. And don't get caught up on a page. If you're supposed to come back to it, or if you really, really are consumed by it, just dog-ear the page and come back to it every once in a while. But sometimes you may not want to come back to a page of a puzzle you don't want to finish. You guys, and just like dot to dots, remember, we are all powerful and we are all connected. So you guys go out and love somebody today like I love you. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.